Every Elder Scrolls protagonist disappears. The heroes who save Tamriel from gods, demons, and apocalyptic threats all share one disturbing pattern. The moment their quest ends, they vanish from history. Some fade into silence. One was erased by time itself. Another became a god. Here's what actually happened to all 6, starting with the hero nobody remembers, the Eternal Champion. The first Elder Scrolls hero is the only one who was completely forgotten by the lore. The Eternal Champion spent a decade collecting the 8 pieces of the Staff of Chaos to defeat Jagar Tharn, freed Emperor Uriel Septim VII from a decade of imprisonment in Oblivion, and then just stopped existing in the story. No other game references them. Not Daggerfall, not Morrowind, not Oblivion, not Skyrim, not even ESO, which takes place thousands of years earlier and could have mentioned them as a future legend. Here's what makes this so strange. Early arena materials actually named the protagonist. They called them Talon, born in 3E 370. The Grateful Emperor promised they would rule by his side after saving the Empire, and then Bethesda simply never mentioned them again. The in-game books that discuss Jagar Tharn's coup and the decade he spent impersonating the Emperor never name who stopped him. The brief history of the Empire confirms the Imperial simulacrum happened. The biography of Queen Berenziah credits Berenziah with secretly helping the Champion, quote, through the spirit Rhea Silmane. But the Champion's identity remained unknown to the public for years, reportedly at Uriel's own insistence. Even Alduin's Wall in Skyrim references the simulacrum in its prophecy, but never mentions the person who ended it. The community's best theory is that Okado of Firsthold, the High Chancellor you meet in Oblivion, might be the Eternal Champion. The evidence includes his extraordinary level of trust with Emperor Uriel, his position literally standing at the Emperor's right hand in the Daggerfall instruction manual, and a timeline that actually works. If the Champion was born around 3E 370, they would have been roughly 63 years old by the Oblivion Crisis. Old, but not impossibly old. But that assumes the Champion was human. If they were an Altmer or Dunmer, they could have lived centuries. Without a confirmed race, we can't even narrow down their potential lifespan. The Eternal Champion could have died of old age before Morrowind. They could have still been alive during Skyrim. We have literally zero information. Here's the thing. Unlike every protagonist who came after them, the Eternal Champion was not a figure of prophecy. They were not chosen by the gods. They were just the last person left standing when Jagar Tharn's coup killed or imprisoned everyone else. They were a prisoner who happened to get a dream from a dead battle mage's ghost and decided to do something about it. Bethesda adopted a firm policy after Arena of never canonizing player character details like race, gender, or specific actions. The Eternal Champion's total absence from later lore is not a deliberate mystery. It's the first casualty of that design philosophy. They saved the entire empire from a decade of tyranny under an imposter emperor, and history forgot them so thoroughly that we don't even know if they lived to see the next year. At least the later heroes got mentioned in books, or confirmed dead. The Eternal Champion got nothing. They are the most successful protagonist and the most thoroughly erased. The Agent of Daggerfall has the strangest confirmed fate of any Elder Scrolls protagonist. They were not forgotten. They were not lost to history. They were consumed by a fracture in reality itself. The Agent arrived in the Iliac Bay in 3E 405 as a Blades operative on what seemed like a routine assignment. Investigate King Lysandas's ghost, recover a sensitive letter for the Emperor. Simple espionage work. But the mission spiraled into something far bigger when the Agent discovered that every major power in the region was hunting for the same artifact, the Totem of Tiber Septim, which could control the Numidium, a reality-warping brass god left dormant since the Second Era. Daggerfall gave players 6 different endings. Give the totem to the Empire, give it to one of 3 kings, give it to the necromancer Mannimarco, or give it to the Underking, who wanted to reclaim his stolen soul and finally die. There was even a cut 7th ending where the Agent activated the Numidium themselves and got killed by it. Bethesda had to pick one for canon. They picked all of them. On the 9th through 11th of Frostfall, 3E 417, the activation of the Numidium triggered a dragon break. This is not a metaphor. The timeline fractured. Akatosh, the dragon god of time, was disrupted. Mutually exclusive events happened simultaneously. The 44 petty kingdoms of the Iliac Bay collapsed into 4 major powers. Mannimarco ascended to godhood and became a constellation. The Underking got his soul back and died. And somehow, impossibly, every version of the totem's fate occurred at once. The in-game book, The Warp in the West, written by Ulvius Tarot and found in both Morrowind and Oblivion, contains the critical line. The Blades filed an official report on the event, and it reads, "We unfortunately lost contact with that agent immediately after the event. His report might have gone some way to resolving the contradictory and paradoxical accounts of the event. The agent stood at the exact center of a temporal paradox where they simultaneously gave the totem to everyone and no one, and they never filed a report. The Blades never heard from them again. Lead designer Ted Peterson confirmed in a 2021 interview that Dragon Breaks were invented specifically to resolve Daggerfall's multiple endings. He called it a little bit of a betrayal of player choice, but acknowledged the narrative necessity. In a 2025 podcast, he admitted Dragon Breaks are really silly, but said he still liked the concept. But here's what matters. That cut ending where the agent activates the Numidium and dies? It became canon alongside everything else. The community overwhelmingly believes the agent is dead. Some theories go darker. The book Where Were You When the Dragon Broke describes the aftermath in apocalyptic terms. Whole armies teleported hundreds of miles. Mass disappearances, firestorms, tsunamis. Witnesses whose eyes were burned out by light nobody could explain. One person standing at the center of all that contradiction may not have simply died. They may have been shattered across the fractured timelines, unable to reconverge when Akatosh repaired himself, erased from existence entirely. The agent is the only Elder Scrolls protagonist with strong canonical evidence of death. The Blades report confirms they vanished the moment the Dragon Break happened. Their report was never delivered, and nobody in the Empire ever saw them again. At least the other heroes got to walk away. The Nerevarine. The Nerevarine has the most poetically tragic fate of any Elder Scrolls hero. They saved Morrowind from a mad god, fulfilled every prophecy, gained literal immortality, and then sailed away and never came back, not even when their people needed them most. The Nerevarine arrived in Morrowind as a prisoner in 3E427. Whether they were actually Nerevar reborn or just someone who happened to fit the prophecy is deliberately left unclear. But they destroyed Dagoth-Ur, killed 2 members of the Tribunal, left Vivek's fate undetermined, and ended the blight threatening all of Vardenfell. The Pocket Guide to the Empire 3rd edition, published 5 years later, states it plainly. The Nerevarine likewise has vanished. 1 year after that, during Oblivion, NPCs across Cyrodiil share a specific rumor. Altmer, Bosmer, and Dunmer all say the same thing. I've heard that the Nerevarine has left on an expedition to Akavir and hasn't been heard from since. This is the only canonical explanation for where they went. 200 years later, in Skyrim's Dragonborn DLC, the Telvanni wizard Neloth casually mentions them while standing on Solstheim. You are too young to remember the Nerevarine. He defeated Dagoth-Ur and saved us all from the Blight. Here's where it gets dark. The Nerevarine is almost certainly still alive. During Morrowind's main quest, you contract Corpus disease. Devaithfire's experimental cure removes the negative effects, the madness, the deformity, but retains the positive ones. Complete immunity to all disease, and immunity to aging itself. The Nerevarine prophecy explicitly states, neither blight nor age can harm him. The last living Dwemer, Yagrum Bagarn, survived thousands of years with Corpus. The Nerevarine carries those same benefits. By the time of Skyrim, the Nerevarine would be over 200 years old, but biologically, still whatever age they were when fire cured them, probably late 20s, early 30s, functionally ageless, functionally immortal, and completely absent when Morrowind collapsed. In 4E5, Red Mountain erupted in the Red Year. Vardenfell was devastated. Vivek City was destroyed. The Dunmer people were scattered. The prophesied savior of Morrowind, immune to death, immune to disease, immune to time itself, was already gone. In the unofficial but widely referenced text, The Fall of Aldarune, the armies of Oblivion destroy the Redoran capital, and the survivors pray for help. The text reads, prayers to Vivek and the Nerevarine go unanswered. The hero who saved the Dunmer simply was not there when their entire world burned. Community theories overwhelmingly hold that the Nerevarine is still alive somewhere on Akavir. They were inducted into the Blades by Caius Cosades during the main quest, so it's possible they went as an intelligence operative. A minority theory suggests that Corpus was tied to Dagoth-Ur's power through the heart of Lorkhan, and destroying both might have gradually eroded the disease's benefits. Maybe the Nerevarine is mortal again. Maybe they died centuries ago, but nothing in the lore confirms that. The dramatic irony cuts deep. Nerevar was betrayed and murdered by the people he trusted most, the Tribunal. His reincarnation fulfilled every prophecy, saved everyone, and then vanished. History repeated itself in a new key. The Nerevarine walked away, and an entire culture paid the price for their absence. But at least they chose to leave. The hero of Kvatch did not get that luxury. The hero of Kvatch. The hero of Kvatch has the most definitively resolved fate of any Elder Scrolls protagonist, and it is deeply unsettling. After closing every Oblivion Oblivion Gate, recovering the Amulet of Kings, and watching Martin Septim sacrifice himself to become the avatar of Akatosh, the hero entered the Shivering Isles, the realm of Sheogorath, Daedric Prince of Madness, and they never left as the person they were. The Shivering Isles DLC revolves around the Grey March, an eternal curse. Every era, at the end of every era, Sheogorath reverts to his original form, Jiggalag, Daedric Prince of Order. Jiggalag then destroys his own realm and every soul in it before the other Daedric princes curse him back into madness. The cycle repeats forever. Sheogorath cannot break it, because he becomes the thing that perpetuates it. The hero of Kvatch broke the cycle by defeating Jiggalag in single combat, and Jiggalag, finally free after millennia, delivered the speech that ends the DLC. You now hold the mantle of madness, and Jiggalag is free to roam the voids of oblivion once more. I will take my leave, and you will remain here, mortal. Mortal? King? God? It seems uncertain. Fare thee well, Sheogorath, Prince of Madness. The hero of Kvatch became Sheogorath, not symbolically, not temporarily. They assumed the divine mantle of a Daedric prince, and Skyrim confirms it 200 years later. In Skyrim's quest, The Mind of Madness, the Dragonborn encounters Sheogorath vacationing inside the mind of the long-dead Emperor Pelagius III, and his dialogue is loaded with first-person references to Oblivion's events. He says, I was there for that whole sordid affair. Marvelous time. Butterflies, blood, a fox, a severed head. Oh, and the cheese. The fox, capitalized, is the Grey Fox from Oblivion's Thieves Guild. The severed head references the Dark Brotherhood questline. The butterflies are from the Shivering Isles entrance sequence. But here's the line that confirms everything. Sheogorath says of Martin Septim, he turned into a dragon god, and that's hardly sporting. The original Sheogorath was transforming into Jiggalag during the Oblivion Crisis. He was not present at the Temple of the One when Martin shattered the Amulet of Kings and became Akatosh's avatar. Only the hero of Kvatch was there. Only the hero saw Martin transform. Dervanin, the NPC who gives you the quest in Skyrim, previously appeared as a priest of Mania in the Shivering Isles DLC. He is still serving the same master. The continuity is deliberate. Bethesda designed this reveal carefully. The philosophical question left open is whether the hero of Kvatch still exists inside Sheogorath. The Elder Scrolls concept of mantling, walking like a god until reality cannot distinguish the mortal from the deity, suggests a merger rather than replacement. Evidence for survival includes Sheogorath's personal memories of Oblivion and a subtle personality shift. Skyrim's Sheogorath is more whimsical than cruel. His quest involves curing madness, not causing it. Fans note this feels different from Oblivion's Sheogorath, who was vicious and calculating. Evidence for consumption. After 200 years, no trace of the original mortal personality emerges beyond fragmentary memories. Sheogorath refers to his mantle as passed down from me to myself, and he casually recounts events from eras before the hero of Kvatch was born, as if he experienced them personally. The mortal may have been devoured entirely by the role they assumed. Bethesda never directly confirmed Sheogorath in Skyrim is the hero of Kvatch to maintain their policy of ambiguity, but the in-game evidence is overwhelming and clearly intentional. The mortal became a god. Whether they survived that transformation or were consumed by it is the only mystery left. At least the hero of Kvatch's fate is known. The last Dragonborn's fate remains completely unresolved. The last Dragonborn. The last Dragonborn's fate is the great unresolved question hanging over Elder Scrolls lore, and TES 6 will almost certainly answer it. After defeating Alduin and Sovngarde, and notably Alduin's soul was never absorbed, meaning the World Eater may return at the true end of time, the Dragonborn traveled to Solstheim and killed Miraak, the first Dragonborn who had been trapped in Hermaeus Mora's realm of Apocrypha for 4,500 years. The Dragonborn DLC's ending is where everything turns ominous. As Miraak dies, Hermaeus Mora declares, "I have found a new Dragonborn to serve me." Later, when the Dragonborn returns to Apocrypha, Mora warns, "The lure of Apocrypha will call you back. It is your fate." Miraak's final words carry a bitter edge. "May he be rewarded for his service as I am." Parallel is unmistakable. Miraak spent millennia as Mora's prisoner, and Mora just claimed a replacement. The community's most widely accepted theory is that Hermaeus Mora will eventually trap the Dragonborn exactly as he trapped Miraak. The Dragonborn DLC becomes the character's last canonical act before being pulled into Apocrypha permanently, the parallel to the hero of Kvatch becoming Sheogorath after the Shivering Isles. DLC reinforces this reading. Final DLC equals final transformation, pattern established, but the counter-arguments are substantial. The Dragonborn possesses a dragon soul, not a mortal soul that can be bargained away to Daedric princes, a shard of Akatosh himself. Hermaeus Mora never actually possessed Miraak's dragon soul. He trapped Miraak's body in Apocrypha and used his knowledge, but the dragon soul remained beyond his reach. When the last Dragonborn kills Miraak, they absorb his soul. Mora does not. That matters. And the Greybeards bestowed a title on the Dragonborn that carries immense weight, Ysmir, Dragon of the North. That is the exact same title held by Tiber Septim before he ascended to godhood and became Talos. The ghost of old Hroldan in Skyrim mistakes the Dragonborn for Yalti, Tiber Septim's birth name. The game is drawing deliberate parallels between the last Dragonborn and the mortal who became a god. This fuels the second major theory, apotheosis. The Dragonborn absorbs dragon souls throughout the entire game. Each one is a fragment of Akka, the oversoul of the Time Dragon. By the end of the main quest, the Dragonborn has consumed dozens of these divine fragments. Then they kill Miraak and absorb his soul, which itself contains thousands of years of accumulated dragon souls from his time in Apocrypha. That is an unprecedented level of divine power stacking inside one mortal body. Community lore scholars on r/Teslore call this the third walking way to godhood, soul stack, combined with the Ysmir title, the Talos parallels, and the Shezarene theory that Elder Scrolls protagonists are avatars of Lorkhan, the missing god. Some believe the Dragonborn will mantle Talos, or merge with the Talos oversoul entirely, becoming a god not through Daedric transformation like the hero of Kvatch, but through Aedric ascension like Tiber Septim. Todd Howard has shared exactly zero details about the Dragonborn's fate or TES6's plot. He confirmed in 2025 that the game is progressing very well, but offered nothing else. Bethesda's established pattern makes one thing certain: TES6 will reference the last Dragonborn. Every game mentions the previous protagonist through books, rumors, or NPC dialogue. The most likely outcome, following precedent, is that the Dragonborn disappeared into Apocrypha, into divinity, into legend, but the game will tell us which. The Dragonborn stands at a crossroads between damnation and godhood, claimed by a Daedric prince, empowered by an Aedric gift, the only protagonist whose fate is genuinely open and awaiting resolution in the next game. But if you think the last Dragonborn story is complicated, wait until you hear about the hero who saved the world 6 times and was forgotten by history entirely. The Vestige. The Vestige occupies the strangest position of any Elder Scrolls protagonist. They are almost certainly the most powerful hero in the entire series. They have the longest list of accomplishments. They are functionally immortal, and they were completely erased from history. In 2E582, a mortal was sacrificed to Molag Bal by the Worm Cult. Their soul was ripped out, their body was killed, but their soul reformed in Cold Harbor using Azure Plasm, the Daedric material native to Molag Bal's realm, creating a perfect, indestructible new body. The in-game book Chaotic Creatia, the Azure Plasm, explains the mechanism. When Mundus faces existential threat, the heart of Nirn spontaneously generates Paragon Soul Shriven to defend itself, in a manner analogous to the way the mortal body fights off infection. The Vestige is Nirn's immune response made flesh. This grants the Vestige functional immortality. When killed, their Azure Plasm body reforms at way shrines, reattuned to Nirn through sky shards, which are fragments of Aetherius. Even after recovering their soul from Molag Bal during the main quest's climax, the Vestige's original mortal body is long dead. They persist as a mortal soul inside an imperishable body made of Daedric material, a unique ontological status, neither fully mortal nor fully Daedric. The Vestige's accomplishments are staggering and still growing. They have personally defeated or thwarted Molag Bal, Clavicus Vile, Mephala, Nocturnal, and Mehrunes Dagon. In the 2024 Gold Road expansion, they help exile Athelia, a forgotten Daedric prince of paths, to a reality without magic. And when Hermaeus Mora erased all memory of Athelia from existence itself, he exempted exactly 2 beings, himself and the Vestige. The Vestige now carries knowledge that no other creature in all of Mundus or Oblivion possesses. Mora designated them Fate's proxy and acknowledged their unique mortal ability to reach outcomes that would otherwise be impossible, a quality not possessed by immortal beings. The Vestige has saved Tamriel at least 6 times across ESO's main quest and chapter storylines. They stopped the plane melt. They defeated the Daedric Triad. They ended the machinations of multiple Daedric princes. They are the single most accomplished hero in Elder Scrolls history by sheer volume of world-ending threats prevented. Yet no single-player Elder Scrolls game ever mentions them. Not Arena, not Daggerfall, not Morrowind, not Oblivion, not Skyrim. The Vestige does not appear in any book, any dialogue, any rumor, or any prophecy in any mainline game. They are completely absent from the historical record. ESO creative director Rich Lambert explained the deliberate design logic behind this. Todd Howard and Matt Firor specifically chose the Second Era's interregnum, a 400-year period of chaos where practically no records survived, so the MMO could exist without contradicting established lore. 1,000 years separate the Vestiges era from Arena's events. That is enough time for even the greatest deeds to be forgotten. Only immortal beings like Daedric princes would remember, and they are not writing history books for mortals. There is one curious footnote. In Arena and Daggerfall, Dunmer NPCs sometimes exclaimed by the Soulless One. This dialogue predates ESO by 2 decades, and is almost certainly coincidental. But the UESP notes dryly this may be coincidence. Since ESO continues receiving new content, the Seasons of the Wormcult arc launched in 2025, the Vestiges story has no definitive ending. Their fate remains perpetually unresolved. An immortal hero with an indestructible body, accumulating world-saving accomplishments endlessly in an era the future will never remember. The most powerful protagonist in Elder Scrolls history, condemned to be the most thorough footnote. The pattern across all 6 heroes is unmistakable. Saving Tamriel is not a career, it is a transformation. The Eternal Champion was forgotten. The Agent was erased by time. The Nerevarine chose exile and immortality. The hero of Kvatch became a mad god. The last Dragonborn stands claimed by forces beyond mortality, and the vestige persists forever in an era history will not record. None of them retire. They transcend, they vanish, or they become something else entirely, and the world moves on without them. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, click the video on the screen now.